Good afternoon. Hi, it's Maria Quattrone with Remax at Home and Be the Solution. Today is Monday, May 18th. Exciting times ahead. I am so excited to talk with Ken Weinstein today of Jumpstart Germantown and the trolley car and lots of other amazing things that he's got going on. I actually been following Ken for years and we've never physically met in person. And so I'm super excited about Ken being on the show today. So Ken, welcome.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and the businesses that you're involved in?
Sure. I'm a social entrepreneur, so I enjoy taking on a lot of different projects. And as you said, I was the founder of Jumpstart Germantown 5 years ago, and more recently, Jumpstart Philly, and we can talk more about that. And I also have one restaurant currently, Trolley Car Cafe in East Falls, which is open for delivery and pickup 7 days a week. But most of my time I spend with Philly office retail. I'm a real estate developer for the past 30 plus years. We currently own and operate over 800,000 square feet of mostly commercial space. We have some residential, but mostly commercial. And we're mostly located in Germantown and Mount Airy, but we also have holdings in West Philly, Norristown, Upper Darby, and a sprinkling around the Philly area. I love what I do, and we do mostly adaptive reuse. So we buy vacant, deteriorated commercial properties, renovate them, and find users for them.
How'd you get into business?
So 30 years ago, I was living in Fishtown, of all places. I had just moved to Philadelphia to work on political campaigns. And I was inspired by my landlady, who, with her own two hands, had bought and renovated six formerly vacant houses in Fishtown. And of course, Fishtown was a very different place back then. And for her, it was just a labor of love. And I thought, how cool is that? I want to do that. So I looked around the city, chose to not do it in Fishtown, but pick Germantown way back then. Saw it as an opportunity and went with it.
You picked Germantown 30 years ago?
Yep. Picked
Wow.
Germantown over 30 years ago. Yeah.
Why?
Uh, well, fortunately and unfortunately, the opportunities I saw in Germantown at the time are still the same opportunities I see today. Uh, there are lots of houses that are still vacant and deteriorated that can be purchased for not a lot of money. You can renovate them and then either rent them out or sell them and have a nice margin. So we did well for years. For the first 10 years I was in the business, I only did residential. And then I did a lot of 1031 tax exchanges and flipped all my residential and put the money into commercial, where I've been ever since.
So are you buying large buildings or what size buildings? Or
Yeah, over time we've gotten larger. I used to do a lot of storefronts and SEPTA train stations and things like that. And now we're trying to, or I should say, the last few years, we try to limit ourselves to 10,000 square foot plus buildings. We have buildings up to 80,000 square feet currently. But there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of stuff available, as you know, and there's not a lot of competition for vacant, deteriorated properties, especially when they're historically designated, which a lot of developers run away from.
so you're doing the tax credits and
Sometimes, when the tax credits make sense, we do them. We just finished one tax credit deal, and we have two more coming up. Sometimes you do historically designated properties. Tax credits don't make sense because you're making too many changes to the interior of the property, and it's hard to comply with the tax credit standards.
I know, and the paperwork is also pretty daunting, right?
Not that bad, actually. If you
Sure.
bring in the right tax credit consultant, and we use a guy named Bob Powers, who's been wonderful, they really do most of the work for you. So it's really mostly about use and changes. And again, if you have the right consultant, they can tell you pretty quickly if it's a project you should do with tax credits or whether you should try to get it done without. So we'll bring Bob in early in the process, and he'll tell us how to proceed.
So you're bringing them in during due diligence to see where it makes sense to go, whether this angle or this angle.
Right,
You can
right.
determine that then, yeah.
So
What?
so as an example, we're restoring the former Cunningham Piano Showroom Factory on Germantown Avenue, and it's about 21,000 square feet. Make it into 16 apartments and 2 storefronts. Well, it seemed like a great historic tax credit project, but as Bob said, it was originally built as a Masonic temple. So if you're not going to leave the space wide open and instead make it into apartments, then the National Park Service is not going to approve it. So he saved us, who knows how many hours of trying to figure that out. And he just knew it on the top of his head.
It's all about having good partners, right?
That's right. Good consultants. That's
Great
right.
consultants, good partners. So what are you most excited about right now that you're working on?
Oh, we got so many projects going right now. We're converting the Mount Airy Presbyterian Church in 19 condos, and we're about 3 months away from completing that project and have already pre-sold several of the condos, which is exciting. I mentioned the Cunningham Piano Showroom Factory, making that into 16 apartments and 2 storefronts. We are working on a 12,000 square foot building at 113 Berkeley Street in Wayne Junction and making that into office space. So we're in the preliminary stages of selective demo, and that's been going very well. We just finished our office space for Philly Office Retail and Jumpstart Germantown co-working space at 4701 Germantown Avenue. That was a historic rehab. And we're about to break ground on the Max Levy building, which is also in Wayne Junction, 212 Roberts Avenue. It's going to be 32 apartments. We're taking this 26,000 square foot building. We're currently getting pricing from GC, so we should break ground on that in July.
Wow, you got a lot going on.
Yeah, those are the big ones. We have some smaller ones, but it's really exciting to see things move forward. For me, it's personally exciting to see the adaptive reuse of buildings that would otherwise sit vacant until someone tears them down. So it's pretty cool to save these properties.
Yeah, I love adaptive reuse. I think it's harder to do sometimes, a lot harder to do. But I think that it's much more fulfilling because you can save an old building. We don't want everything to look like cookie cutter.
Right.
Philadelphia is known for its neighborhoods, and the charm of Philadelphia, right, is the neighborhoods and the different fabric within that neighborhood that makes it Germantown or Bella Vista or Mount Airy or Britton House, whatever. So that's exciting. It's
Yeah.
it's it's great that there's still developers out there like you that want to continue to do that. That good work. I'm curious because I don't know the history behind it, but how did Jumpstart Germantown come about? And
Well,
what is it all about? Because I think there's a lot of different people that will listen to this. It'll be real estate investors as well as agents and some consumers as well. So
Jumpstart Germantown, I founded 5 years ago. I saw a real need, a lot of people reaching out who said, "Hey, I want to be doing what you do. How do I get started?" And for years I would pay it forward and I would agree to sit down with people for an hour at a time and say, hey, here's how I got it done. You can do it too. I felt a little like a cheerleader, but I never followed up with people, and I left it up to them, after they left my office that day to figure it out on their own. And it started to get hot and heavy. There are a lot of people, and I was spending a lot of time one-on-one sessions with people, again, as a way to pay it forward. I said, what happens if I stopped doing that and started to say no to people and instead put together a 12-hour curriculum that would actually give them the tools they needed and the experience they needed to get started. And on top of that, after they went through my 12 hours of curriculum, we gave them a mentor to walk them through their first, second, third projects. And that's how Jumpstart was started. So we obviously struck a nerve because we started to get hundreds of applications very quickly, and we've already graduated 850 people through our program in the first 5 years.
850.
Yeah. So
Wow.
not
And have
not
they
all.
all done projects?
Yeah, I was about to say not all of them have done projects. I would suggest that more than half of them will never get into real estate development. So in some ways, it's a numbers game. But we have gotten a lot of people started in the business. We've seen a lot of our graduates already quit their day jobs and go in full time.
Hmm.
Like I said, we really struck a nerve because people are finding what they were destined to do, and people are following in our footsteps and taking vacant, deteriorated properties and saving them and providing more housing for people. So it's been pretty cool.
That's amazing. I know that one of my friends, associates, Palak,
Mm-hmm.
she
Pollock, yeah, Pollock Shaw.
she's come to your and spoken at your events, right? Doing some
She's
teaching.
she's I call her a Jumpstart All Star because she's one of those people. She was a full-time chemical engineer when I met her. She went through Jumpstart. She sold a couple properties that she already had in hotter neighborhoods and started buying up in middle neighborhoods like Germantown. And she quit her day job and she's doing wonderful now. And now she's mentoring other people. We have 23 mentors currently in our program. And I love people like her who have already paid it forward and graduated from our program, got enough experience to be a mentor in our program.
So how does that work? How do they qualify? They have to do a certain number of projects, or
Yeah, we usually ask our mentors to complete at least 10 projects on their own to have enough experience to tell other people how to get it done.
so the 23 mentors, are they also running the curriculum now?
No, I handle the 12 hours of sessions. We do it over 4 Wednesday afternoons, 3 hours per session. And the third session, people go off site to a construction site so they can learn hands on how to do construction. But we bring in a lot of guest speakers. My banker comes in, my head of property management, my leasing person, my attorney, and so on to tell people how to get it done. But like every program that's out there, there's no substitution for learning by doing. So we push people to just get started. You don't know everything. Just get going. You're going to make mistakes. Hopefully, you'll cut down on those mistakes because you went through Jumpstart Germantown. But that's how we all got started initially.
That's so cool. Joshua Jones says hello. He
Hey,
was
Josh.
first Jumpstart Germantown grads, and he continues to still use the program today.
Very active. Yeah,
He's
thanks,
very
Josh.
active.
And Josh, by the way, there's a couple other parts of the Jumpstart program. We have a developers network that gets together a few times a year, guest speakers. We've had the mayor speak, we've had the governor speak. We've had Mark Blatstein came to speak once. That was very interesting. But then most,
What did Bart say?
you've heard Art speak. He's a character, and I love his energy. I love his enthusiasm. I like most of his projects, and he just told a lot of stories. And I actually learned a lot from him that day because he has a very personal way to him of communicating. I learned a lot from that night. And I think most people were amused. We had a crowd of over 300 people for him.
Wow.
So I think he enjoyed it, and I'm together with him a couple times since then. And he talks very highly of Jumpstart Germantown. But the most powerful part of the Jumpstart Germantown and now Jumpstart Philly program is our loan program. And I bring this up because Josh Jones has used the loan program several times to do projects. We do 85% loan to cost financing. We do very fast approval, in some cases in 2 to 3 days, so that people can use our loan and look like they're a cash buyer. So far, we've done over $16 million in loans just in the Germantown area. We've done a couple million more in Jumpstart Philly, which was started late last year.
So you're still lending right now?
Yeah, we are. I made a special point of saying we are not turning off our loan program despite the added risk that there is right now. I learned a lot about lending during the '08 recession. I was one of the founders of Valley Green Bank, which was bought by Univest a few years ago. And we made a special point of never turning off the funding spigot. And because of that, we were able to attract a lot of goodwill for Valley Green Bank. And I want that same feeling to exist for Jumpstart, because people will remember a year from now which banks, which financial institutions, which lenders never stop lending because they believe in their borrowers.
So that's true. That truly is being the solution, Ken. That's I'm really happy to hear that, because I've been talking to a lot of different banks, and I've had a lot of clients, like not small developers, probably mid-sized developers, who they thought everything was great and they went to get their project funded, and they kept pushing them off, saying we're working on PPP, and then they call and say, you know what, we don't have an appetite for this anymore, and we need the liquidity for our bank. So what's a sweet spot for you for a loan?
The average loan is about $110,000, but we've done loans anywhere from $40,000 up to $500,000.
Okay, so it's usually for mainly flips and like a couple maybe new construction townhomes. Is that?
For the most part, it's rehabs. We have
Okay.
done a couple new constructions, and it's roughly 50-50 between buy and holds, in which case they refinance and take us out, or buy, rehab, and resell, in which case when they sell, of course, they take us out. So our loans are made to be for around the 12-month period, but we did two things recently to accommodate our borrowers during the pandemic. One is we're allowing for 15-month terms instead of 12-month terms, just to foresee the reality of the situation we're in. The other thing we did is you don't pay any interest on your loan until you have finished construction. So for anybody who has finished construction that is being delayed on either reselling their property or refinancing their property, we are deferring all of the interest payments at this time.
And now, so the borrower, do they need to have some deals under their belt, or we look at a new?
Oh, absolutely. Jumpstart is all about helping aspiring developers get started. So we love when developers have no experience, or maybe they only have one or two behind them, and banks won't finance them. That's what we want to be doing. We want to step in when the banks won't. If you can get bank financing, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And several of our borrowers have graduated from our loan program. So used us for their first, second, third, fourth project. After that, they don't need us anymore, which is fine with me.
Well, it's a great way for them to get started. So is it based on their like the normal, their income, their credit, their FICO, or some faith in who
So
they
we're, yeah. So we're able to use common sense because we don't have any bank regulators. I was very used to when I was at Deli Bank. What's that?
are? No overlays.
Yeah, right. So we're able to use common sense. So, for example, if you're doing a buy and resell, we don't even check your credit. I don't care what your credit looks like, right? If you can buy it, get the project done, and resell it, we're good. The only reason we check credit on the buy and holds is because I need to know that you can refinance it, so that we can be taken out. We don't want to be in long term. So that's the example. If you have gone through the Jumpstart Germantown program, very likely you're ready to get going. If you haven't, and you have taken on a very aggressive project, maybe needs a whole house rehab and you're not quite ready for it, we might say no, but that doesn't happen too often.
Mm.
So you don't have to go through the program, but we prefer that people do.
So with the Jumpstart Philly, same thing.
Yep, same thing. Jumpstart Philly is, of course, close to citywide. Since we started Jumpstart Germantown, 6 other neighborhoods in the city have started their own Jumpstart programs. Kensington,
Mm.
Hunting Park, Tioga, Southwest Philly, West Philly, and North Philly West, which is mostly like Strawberry Mansion, Brewery Town area. So they are all going. So Jumpstart Philly lends money to 5 out of those 6 other areas. The only exception being Kensington, that has their own Jumpstart Kensington, which has their own loan program.
Right, impact or some. Okay.
That's correct. Impact Services is administering that, along with Shift Capital.
Right. Very familiar with that organization.
Yeah, so we love our Jumpstart programs around the city. They are graduating their own people. That's on top of the 850 that we have already graduated. So I just love this sort of grassroots approach, getting local people in the community involved with improving their own community. It shouldn't just be outsiders coming in and fixing up communities. It should happen from within the community.
Right. Yeah, you see the outsiders come from North Jersey, from New York, and they see the value in Philadelphia. Sometimes being right in it, people didn't see the value in Philadelphia.
Right.
But it's about bringing, you've been really great at bringing community together and showing them really what can be done. I mean, you started once at zero, right?
Right. Right. That's, and a lot of us, and people always ask, well, why do you and your mentors do this? Well, we do this because we wish there was a Jumpstart program when we got started. We would have avoided a lot of mistakes early on, that hopefully my graduates are now avoiding. And I always tell them, by the way, that you guys have an inherent advantage over the outside investors coming in. There's nothing wrong with outside investors coming in. We should welcome their investment money and energy and efforts. But people from within the community, you have an inherent advantage because you know who's selling. You know, Joe Smith, who lived up the street, who recently passed away, and now his house, which is deteriorated, is available. Or Bonnie, who moved away and left her house vacant 5 years ago, and you may have some friends in common and can track her down. Outside investors don't have that advantage.
No, they're relying on local intel.
Right.
And we only can know so much. We're not going to know for because we work all over the county, as I was telling you earlier, and we can't know about Susie Smith and Bobby uh, Bobby down the street who need their, their grandmom just passed and they need the house to be sold. I mean, we have a
Right.
lot of clients, but we can't know in depthly that much.
Right.
So it's like real boots on the ground.
That's right.
I tell
That's right.
people door knock, right? Door knock your neighborhood, find out, ask neighbors what's going on. You see a vacant house, they probably know. The neighbor knows who owns that house.
Right. Right.
And that's probably like a really easy way to do that. Does it cost anything for the program?
We for the first 4 years we charged nothing, and then last year we started to charge $100 only to create sort of a threshold. Like if it's not worth $100 for you for 12 hours of training and a mentor, then you probably shouldn't be going through the program. And we don't want to even that $100. I'm very sensitive. I don't want to make any money off this program, so we take $20 for the workbook, which is our cost on putting that together, and the other $80 becomes a donation to a local housing organization like Habitat.
No, that's great.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's good to have a little cost to something.
very.
Usually when it costs something, you have a better respect for showing up and being on time and just generally how you see people work.
No, absolutely. There's definitely an appreciation when you have some skin in the game.
Right. And it's great. You're donating most of the money to Habitat. They're a great organization.
Yeah. I mean,
People,
just in the last year, we've given away over $20,000 just from those $80 fees,
wow.
which is pretty cool.
How many people do you have coming into a class?
So right now we do classes 4 times a year, and we typically have 65, 70 people per class. Of course, we have no idea what it's going to look like this fall when we try to do classes in person. The next 2 classes may have to be online. We'll see what happens.
So are you in the
Uh,
middle of a cohort right now or?
no. I did 2 earlier this year, one in January, one in February. And obviously that was in person. The next one is September, October. And then with the amount of signups we've been getting, there will probably be one November and December also.
So hopefully we'll be back to classroom setting. But if not, you could zoom away.
Yeah.
Have you
We're all learning how to do that.
Yeah. Have you been on a lot of Zooms?
Yes, definitely been on a lot of Zooms. I mentioned earlier to you that we did our first Jumpstart Zoom last Monday, and I was the first guest speaker. We had over 160 people live, so that was kind of cool.
A
I
hundred.
did it in front. I did it in front of my fireplace. Someone suggested I was trying to do the FDR, chat by the fireplace kind of thing.
Right from the comfort of your own home.
Yes. Kind of weird.
It's kind of weird. What do you think about the way we've had to conduct business with Zoom and everything? What are your feelings about it?
Well, I think in some ways it could make us stronger for the future. My staff of 20 people are all working from home, and that's a little weird. It takes time to communicate. You got to spend more time communicating, spend more time making sure everybody's on assignment and doing what they should be doing. But when we go back, and of course it'll be a gradual process, we may have learned how to communicate in more ways that will make us productive going forward. So even for me, instead of running downtown and doing meetings in Center City that might take me 30 minutes each way to commute, now I can just get on Zoom, and I just saved an hour of time. I know people who go get on planes and go on business trips. I bet they're going to find a new way of doing those things, and they're going to save hours for each business trip they don't need to leave Philadelphia. So I think it's going to make us more productive over time.
We've definitely are becoming more efficient. I think for the first little while it took, well, there's a couple things, right? So in brokerage world, we get to stabilize deals that are pending to close and getting those situated and have mobile, having virtual closings, right? That was like hurdle number one. Hurdle number two, how do we do listing appointments on Zoom. I've actually like it because see, you and I are talking. You're not looking in 20 different places. We're having
Right.
a conversation. We're engaged. We're not worried about, you go to a coffee meeting, you got somebody crying, somebody, if you're in a restaurant, right? You got
Right.
people walking around, you're getting up to do this. You can't even like, how rude would it be if I answered my phone right now in the middle of
Right.
a meeting with you?
Right.
Not going
Right.
to do that either because, people do it. I
Right.
don't do it, but I'm in meetings, plenty of people do it. And then it takes you, you're coming downtown. You got a half hour at least drive, park the car, walk to the place, get back in the car. You could have done 3 meetings.
Right. No, totally. Totally. I,
Listen, not that I don't love getting together and having like drinks or dinner or whatever, but I definitely think from a standpoint of us being able to be more efficient with time, that we can do this. Not everything has to be in person.
right. And then there's other things going on. So we have done all of our loan documents, all of our leases by DocuSign. And I can't even imagine how much time it's already saved us. And of course, that's a system that will continue going forward because we have figured out how easy it is. Not to mention, doesn't give people a chance to second guess their decision to lease, right? I mean, you put something in front of them, they say yes, you put something in front of them within an hour. You don't have to wait anymore 2 or 3 days for them to come in, sign it, maybe wait for it to arrive by mail. We're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, DocuSign definitely is very, very efficient. And most of the things we figured out that we can do virtually. It doesn't replace, though, walking through a building, whether it's a building that you're buying to redevelop or a home or a rental that you're going to live in for the next couple years, because there's that feeling of, how do I feel when I'm in the space? What am I looking over out the window? There's
Right.
only so much a 3D tour could capture on that. But I do believe, because we've actually been doing these 3D tours since August, we bought the software, the camera.
Okay.
And so, but what I do believe is that it's going to eliminate people as tire kickers, just wanting to walk through properties with no pre-approval, with, no, this will be the first step. Did you take the 3D tour? Send over your, proof of funds or approval, because especially if it's an occupied building, an occupied home, or, a commercial building that has people in it, whatever. I think that will eliminate a lot of that from happening. And then you say, oh, well, we always follow up. What happened with the buyer? Did they like the house? It's the first time out. They didn't even finish their documents yet. And that process has to change, right? Because
Right.
you're not going to be with anybody unless you know for 100% they're ready to go. The bank said yes, let's go. So I think that there's little things like that will be
Right.
helpful for all parties involved. And you as a developer, you want to know, well, what happened with that appointment?
Right.
Now you're going to know if they're coming through. They've already seen all the plans. They've seen the tour. Now this is like almost like putting the stamp on it saying, okay, we're going to contract.
We've been pleasantly surprised by how much leasing we're still able to do. Definitely on the residential side, but even on the commercial side, we're doing these 3D tours, these virtual tours. And for example, we had a 2-bedroom apartment come up in Germantown. I'm thinking, oh man, we're going to sit on this for a couple months. We had almost immediately 100 people called in, and Juwan, my head of leasing, sent them a link to a virtual tour. She didn't need to set 5 or 10 appointments or open houses, and they watched the tour or didn't watch the tour, and then either sent her an application or didn't send an application. I think she ended up getting 5 or 6 applications. She chose the best one, and we're signing a lease this week.
That's
So we're seeing a lot of that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think renters, if they want to rent, they're either moving into this, they're moving from somewhere or they're moving from another apartment. They're like, it looks good. I checked out. They could drive around the neighborhood, right? Nothing's precluding them from doing that.
Right.
Check it out.
What we do is we say, okay, now you're approved. Here's the lease. Before you sign the lease, we're going to give you a code so you can walk in yourself, make sure it's what you're looking for. I'm still, maybe I'm old school, but I'm still a little uneasy about them signing a lease and then seeing the place and saying, it's not what it looked like in the virtual tour. I don't want to hear that. So go look at it. And so far, every time we've done that, people were like, okay, great. Thanks for being so honest. I'll go take a look. I'll sign the lease. And they have signed the lease. I just don't want people to be surprised later.
Yeah.
But we on the commercial side, we're getting calls from major retailers in Germantown that's interested in property we have at the corner of Shelton and Green Street. We have somebody ready to move ahead on 13,000 square foot building in Wayne Junction. So it surprised me that how many people are looking to move forward during this pandemic.
What kind of businesses do they have?
That one is a nonprofit school, the one that wants a 13,000 square foot. The one that was interested in Green and Shelton is a national retailer. And I was a little surprised when we got a call, but they're obviously looking to the future. What this all means to me, people have been asking, do you think this recession will be the same or different than the '08 recession? And for my business, this is my 4th economic downturn. So we're starting to see commonalities. We're starting to see how to deal with it and come up with strategies. But to me, and I'm just guessing because I'm certainly not an economist, I think based on the calls we're getting and the interest we're getting, that as soon as we can start to open up some, and it's going to take a little bit of time, so we have to be a little patient, I believe that it's going to come back much faster than the '08 economy. The '08 recession came back. And a lot of that is because in the '08 recession, we had some serious structural deficiencies in the economy. Now we have, in some ways, an artificial reason for this recession. And to me, I think we're going to come back much stronger, much more quickly.
I happen to agree with you. I mentioned earlier when we were talking about a lot of the different markets in the country that are doing extremely well. There is a lot of pent-up demand for property, and because some of the states were also non-essential, so you have people that are literally have been waiting in the wings. The inventory here I looked at the numbers, Ken, from last May 1st, 2019, in residential sales, we had 8,670 properties on the market with just under 5 months of inventory. This May 1st, we had 3,677. 60% decrease in inventory.
Wow.
And we started the year, January and February, market-wide, was gangbusters. We had the best January than I think we've ever had in a January. I think we put over 30 properties under contract, and from my little group. And February was just as busy with new inventory coming up online. And then, of course, what happened from there. So we're getting calls every day from people that are ready to go. And, you know, in some cases, if the sellers are like, they can come in, then the sellers are letting them in their house and they're seeing it, or they're just buying off of the 3D tour. But there's a lot of people that aren't going to do any of that. They're just going to wait, and they're sitting on the fence. And as soon as they open us back up, I think we're going to see a lot of people both on the buy and on the lease side. You know, it's May. We should be crazy busy.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
tons of stuff going on. So
Yep. Yep. But we have purchased 3 properties since the pandemic started. And, you know, we're going to respond to opportunity. We're not going to just sit around and wait for, you know, everything to fall into place. You know, now's the time to grab things that are priced correctly.
we've been selling some like that. I also hear some investors saying, yeah, I think the prices are going to drop and I'm going to wait. What do you think?
I think prices will drop, but if we do not have a second surge, as some are predicting for this fall, and I don't know which way it's going to go, I think they're going to wish they had picked up properties right now. If we do have a second surge in the virus this fall, it will be another downturn and prices could drop further. So to me, that's what it's depending on.
And how many people go back to work that have been furloughed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
that's why I'm nervous about opening up too quickly. I know there's differing opinions on it, but we cannot have a second surge this November because it will be very harmful. Besides the obvious, you know, people getting sick and people dying, you know, it will be a big another downturn for the economy that we just cannot afford right now. So people should be careful. So we'll hedge our bets. We'll buy some stuff now. And if that were to happen, unfortunately happen, then we'll be ready and still have some cash available to buy additional properties. But a lot of the stuff that we bought during and just after the '08 recession, things in '09 and 2010, they were our projects for the next 5 years. They gave us a base of work for my in-house crew, for GCs we hired, and really formulated my Wayne Junction project, which is renovating and restoring now 13 buildings in the Wayne Junction area.
wow.
But that's when we bought a lot of that stuff at $5 and $6 a square foot back in '09 and 2010.
So you had the vision to see what could be there. That's right. It's about having the belief and vision, I think, is in development.
Well, people, it's a thin line between vision and craziness. And, you know, so I could sit here and say, oh, yeah, I saw it the whole time, you know, but sometimes you just take risk and you hope it all works out and comes together. And worst case scenario, you break even, and best case scenario, you hit a home run. And, you know, usually it's somewhere in the middle and you hit a double, you know.
Yeah, it's like in you could see certain things. So we live in the Graduate Hospital area. We're right at 21st and Catherine. And my office is 21st and South. So I was been selling here. I started in '04. I've been selling down this area back '05, '06, '07. This whole time, I would say, "Oh my God, you have to buy here because look what's right there." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, Rittenhouse Square. Right? You're a stone throw from Rittenhouse Square, the most expensive real estate in Philadelphia. Right? Well, Chestnut Hill's up there too, but Rittenhouse, definitely Delancey Street is the most expensive street in Philadelphia.
Is that right?
People would look at me like I was a little nuts. And I became like queen of Graduate Hospital because I just like selling. And I really believe in the development of neighborhoods. We're selling stuff in Strawberry Mansion, Brewerytown, Point Breeze, Fishtown, Port Richmond, East Kensington. some stuff in Germantown, but we've always, like, before it actually happened, we're there. I would tell stories of how I'd be, 12 years ago, 13 years ago in Point Breeze, where, I mean, you could buy stuff for 30, 40, 50 grand. 50 grand, you were getting like a really big house. And this is when on 22nd Street, they still had those tin, or I don't know, metal containers where they would light a fire, and they were every couple
The
blocks,
barrels.
the
Yeah.
barrels, right? They
They
were
sing doo-wop over them
they
when
were
they
doing
light it?
all kinds of stuff, singing, smoking, all kinds of shit. I would pull up on the sidewalk of, like, on 22nd Street. This is back before I had like runners and stuff, early in my career. And I'd leave the car running. I'd get out of the car. I put the key in, make sure it opened the door, because that's like real estate agent stuff 101. Make sure the key opens before you put it in the box, and then take the other key and make sure you bring it back to the office for when they seal the key out of the box. I put the box on, and literally cars running. I would be like, okay, I could do this really quickly. Put it on there, and I take off. And I tell people, when I would go out to Temple University and do the same thing, I'd be blowing through red lights, coming all the way back. I didn't stop. I kept going. I'm like Dolphin. I keep driving straight through the stuff. I'm like, they're not going to stop me. I don't care. The cops can come get me. But, now it's like, now
you're officially crazier than I am. Congratulations. I've met my match.
Just a tad bit. But now you go to Point Breeze, right? Point Breeze. You want to buy a brand new house with a garage. $700,000. 650, 700, 750. Saw a sale for 800. Oh, no, something sold for more than that too.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't that long ago. I mean, we're talking a decade, right? It's not that long. But the point of me saying all this was that I love the involvement in the transformation of a neighborhood, and working with the developer and saying, okay, you can build these, take this church and build it into condos or apartments. Or, I sold a YWCA on Catherine Street, and they built, it actually even had a pool in the basement. It was like really, old building, but then they turned it into 29 beautiful condos. They kept the building. They were going to tear it down and make new construction homes. And then they decided, let's keep the building, let's put apartments. And then they build new construction on the side of it to expand the footprint, because they were able to do that by right. And just to see the transformation of a whole entire community.
Agreed.
That's what I get excited about, right? That's why I do the work that I do. And I wouldn't go into the neighborhoods that were not that great and bad, but I'm helping a lot of people just like you make a lot of money in the business. Because that's how you earn your income to feed your families. So taking that extremely serious, and okay, so we're really looking at the numbers. Which the pricing be? Where's the hole in the market? Mm-hmm. What's absorbing quicker? Where do we have too much inventory and not enough inventory? Right. And it's evaluating that and market, and looking at the statistics and all that part of it, that I get jazzed by that part too, because I'm a numbers person. I like math. It was I guess because I was good at it. I we tend to like what we're good at and dislike what we're not good at. But it's,
yeah. And beyond all that, I just love the movement, because I've been waiting for this for years, of people in the suburbs wanting to live in the city. So I love that the energy that's now in the city, and a lot of people are ready to call it the end for the city because of this pandemic. I'm like, don't write off the city that quickly. There's a reason why people want to be here. People want to be more active and walking, and have these wonderful restaurants and and institutions that we have here in the city. And that's why they're moving back to the city. So I think it's a great trend, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, I can agree. I think some people do want to write it off. I think right now it's mentally hard for a lot of people. And
Hmm.
I live, like I said, we live downtown, and I've been living in the city since um, right after I graduated from college. So a couple years after that, in 1995, I moved into downtown, and so I've seen all the changes. But I think you have a lot of people that are just like, oh my gosh, I live downtown. There's people everywhere. I can't go anywhere because they don't have, they live in a small apartment or a smaller home. The playground, the city's the playground. So when the restaurants are closed, the bars are closed, the parks are like, oh, stay away. I think it's just a little stressful
Yep.
um,
Yep.
from that standpoint. And I myself even said I want to get a compound with a pool.
Well, you're welcome to come over anytime. We're in Mount Airy, and we're going to set up a pool club this summer because everyone has been calling and saying you have a pool. We're ready to join your pool club.
We've been driving through Chestnut Hill, West Mount Airy over the last few couple months. Even actually the other day we were driving through Gladwin just for green, to look at the green, to see all of the beautiful trees and everything's blossomed, and it's for a different change of scenery than
Yeah.
my my office closet that I'm in here.
Well, it looks nice from
I
what
took a
you
bed.
have here.
Yeah, I took a bedroom that when I moved in, and I made half of it an office, half of it a closet, but the I never used the office part of it because I was a person who went to my office every single day and started my day with my staff. And I'm like, okay, what do we got going today? Let's get it going. So we still do that, but on Zoom. But I never worked from home.
Mhm.
I always went to an office. But we get used to it. We adapt. We're resilient.
Yes, we are.
Humans are resilient. So any last parting words for our guests today? You have a lot
Nah,
of good food for thought. You have a lot of good stuff.
there's always more. I guess I would leave everybody just with a challenge that it's the old adage: it's easy to make money in a good economy, and not as easy to make money in a difficult economy. So I encourage everybody who was able to make money and by doing whatever and taking as long as they wanted for construction and only getting one price quote instead of three price quotes on construction and not shopping around your financing. Those days are over. Now that we're in a recession, you can still make money. There's still opportunities for you, but you got to sharpen your skills. You got to sharpen your pencils. You have to do things smarter than you would have done them 6 months ago. So that's the message that we've been sending out to Jumpstarters. Don't stop, keep going, but be smarter and work harder and take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you.
Good advice. Always money to be made in every
Yes.
market,
Yes.
right? Then
Yes.
you make the money on the buy.
Making money and improving your neighborhood at the same time. It's a great combination.
100%. I am.
Be the solution.
It's right. It's all about be the solution. But I'm thankful and I'm grateful and I'm very appreciative of your time, Ken. I'm glad we had an opportunity to spend some time together and for you to share all the ways that you're being the solution with Jumpstart Philly, Jumpstart Kensington, the trolley car, and your work with the loans. I mean, it's fabulous. And I thank you very much.
Thanks, Maria. Keep up the good work.
You too. Have a wonderful week.
You take care. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.